From the moment Duane Allman picked up a guitar, it was clear that the world was about to witness something extraordinary. Born in 1946 in Nashville, Tennessee, Duane grew up surrounded by music. His early exposure to blues and gospel shaped his playing, giving him a depth and soul that would later define the sound of Southern rock. But what exactly made Duane Allman stand out among so many gifted musicians of his era? The answer lies in his uncanny ability to merge technical brilliance with raw emotion, a gift that could make a simple note feel like a story. By the late 1960s, Duane had already made a name for himself as a session musician at the legendary Muscle Shoals Sound Studio. He contributed to recordings for artists like Wilson Pickett and Aretha Franklin, adding his signature slide guitar to tracks that would go down in music history. Yet his ambition stretched far beyond session work. He wanted to create music that could capture the spirit of his own experiences. It was during this time that he co-founded the Allman Brothers Band with his brother Greg. The group quickly became a force to be reckoned with, blending rock, blues, and jazz into a sound uniquely their own. Albums like Idlewild South and At Fillmore East showcased Duane's ability to tell stories through his guitar, weaving melodies that were at once intricate and soulful. Fans and critics alike were captivated by his improvisational skills, especially during live performances, where every solo felt spontaneous and electrifying. What drove Duane to push boundaries in his music? It was his relentless pursuit of authenticity. He wasn't interested in simply playing notes. He wanted to convey emotion, to make the guitar speak as clearly as the human voice. This dedication is what earned him recognition as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, influencing countless musicians who came after him. Despite his rising fame, Duane remained humble, always focused on the music rather than personal glory. Tragically, his life was cut short at the age of 24 in a motorcycle accident, leaving fans and fellow musicians mourning the loss of a true visionary. Yet even in that brief time, Duane Allman left behind a legacy of innovation, passion, and a sound that continues to resonate. His rise from a young boy in Nashville to a guitar legend is a story of talent, perseverance, and the enduring power of music.
October 29, 1971, began like any other day for Duane Allman, but it would end as one of the most tragic in rock history. The southern skies over Macon, Georgia were bright, and the Allman Brothers Band had just finished a string of electrifying performances. Duane, a visionary guitarist whose slide work had transformed the sound of modern rock, was in high spirits, planning a brief break before heading to a recording session. But fate had a cruel plan. What happened on that day? And how could a life so vibrant and promising be extinguished in a single moment? The answer lies in the details of that fateful afternoon. Duane was riding his motorcycle near Macon when he lost control on a curve. Reports indicate that the bike skidded on a patch of gravel, throwing him violently to the ground. Emergency services arrived quickly, but the injuries were catastrophic. At only 24 years old, Duane Allman's extraordinary life was over. Those who knew him speak of the surreal calm of that day, juxtaposed with the sudden shock of tragedy. Friends recall Duane joking with his brother Greg and other bandmates earlier that morning, his laughter and energy filling the room. It is almost impossible to reconcile the image of a young, creative genius full of life with the devastating news that would soon spread across the nation. The music world reeled. How could a musician with such impact, whose guitar had already graced hits for artists like Aretha Franklin and Wilson Pickett, be gone so suddenly? His peers were left in disbelief, and fans were plunged into grief. Duane had been more than a guitarist. He was a mentor, a collaborator, and a symbol of innovation in Southern rock. His influence extended beyond the stage, shaping the sound and direction of countless musicians who followed in his footsteps. Even in death, Duane Allman's spirit persisted through his recordings. The Allman Brothers Band's At Fillmore East album, recorded earlier that year, captured the raw, improvisational brilliance that had become his hallmark. Listeners could hear the soul and emotion in every slide note, every riff a testament to a talent abruptly silenced, yet immortalized through music. October 29 stands as a reminder of the fragile line between life and destiny, especially for those who live with such intensity and passion. Duane Allman's final day was brief, but profoundly impactful. His music continues to echo decades later, inspiring generations and preserving the memory of a guitarist whose rise was cut tragically short. Though his presence was fleeting, the legacy he left behind is eternal, a haunting yet beautiful testament to a life lived fully, even if far too briefly.
October 29, 1971, began like any ordinary autumn day in Macon, Georgia, but it would end in heartbreak that rocked the music world. Duane Allman, the virtuoso guitarist of the Allman Brothers Band, had just spent years building a reputation as one of the most innovative musicians of his generation. Known for his slide guitar mastery and soulful solos, Duane had already left an indelible mark on rock and blues music. Yet, on that fateful day, tragedy would strike in a way that no one saw coming. What exactly happened, and why did a life so full of talent and promise end so abruptly? Duane was riding his motorcycle near Macon when he lost control on a curve. Reports indicate that the bike skidded on a patch of loose gravel, causing him to crash violently. Despite immediate medical attention, his injuries were fatal. At only 24 years old, the music world lost a figure whose influence was already immense. Fans and fellow musicians were stunned. Duane Allman had been a rising star whose work had already graced sessions for artists like Aretha Franklin and Wilson Pickett. He had transformed the Allman Brothers Band into a pioneering force in Southern rock. The news of his death spread quickly, leaving fans in shock and disbelief. How could someone so young, whose guitar spoke so powerfully, simply be gone? The answer lies in the unpredictability of life and the dangers of motorcycling, even for someone experienced. The tragedy prompted an outpouring of grief and tribute. Fellow musicians remembered him not just as a virtuoso guitarist, but as a humble, kind-hearted individual whose dedication to his craft inspired everyone around him. Journalists and fans alike recounted the raw energy and emotion Duane brought to every performance. It was this intensity, his ability to make every note feel alive, that made the loss so devastating. Even after his death, Duane Allman's music continued to resonate. Albums such as At Fillmore East, recorded just months earlier, captured the magic of his improvisation and the unmistakable sound of his slide guitar. Each track serves as a lasting testament to his genius and a haunting reminder of what was lost. The motorcycle accident of October 29, 1971, was more than a tragic event. It was the abrupt silencing of a voice that had already reshaped the landscape of rock music. Duane Allman's life may have been short, but the legacy he left behind is eternal. His music continues to inspire, and fans around the world remember him not only as a brilliant guitarist, but as a symbol of passion, creativity, and the fragile beauty of life. Even decades after his untimely death, Duane Allman's influence on music remains profound and far-reaching. As a guitarist, he was more than a virtuoso. He was a storyteller, a pioneer who fused blues, rock, and jazz into a sound uniquely his own. But what truly cements his enduring legacy? The answer lies not only in his skill, but in the way he inspired everyone who heard him play or worked alongside him. Duane's slide guitar, with its soaring, emotive tones, set a new standard for expression in rock music. His work with the Allman Brothers Band, particularly on albums like At Fillmore East, demonstrated an improvisational mastery that few have ever matched. Even in session work for other artists, such as Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, and Derek and the Dominoes, his guitar elevated every recording, adding depth, soul, and a touch of genius. Beyond his technical brilliance, Duane was a musician who pushed the boundaries of collaboration. He taught fellow band members to listen, respond, and build music together in real time, a practice that became the foundation of the Allman Brothers' legendary live performances. His influence extended to countless guitarists, from Warren Haynes to Eric Clapton, who credit Duane as a primary inspiration for their own styles. But his legacy is not confined to musical technique alone. Duane Allman embodied the passion, intensity, and authenticity that every artist strives for. He approached each performance with total immersion, creating moments that felt alive, spontaneous, and deeply human. Fans continue to marvel at recordings decades later, hearing in every note the dedication and heart that made him remarkable. Tragically, his life was cut short at 24. Yet even in that brief span, he left behind a blueprint for artistry that remains relevant today. His recordings, interviews, and live performances are studied by aspiring musicians who seek not just to replicate his sound, but to capture his spirit. Ultimately, Duane Allman's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of musical innovation, collaboration, and heartfelt expression. Though his time was brief, his influence is timeless. He reminds us that true artistry is measured not merely by fame or accolades, but by the emotional resonance left in the hearts of those who listen. And by that measure, Duane Allman remains immortal.